Happy morning, Monday. Happy Monday morning. I don't know, just quarterbacking over here. Made some French press coffee this morning. I'm feeling awesome. Have a potential new local business owner that I was talking to the other day, and he gave me some of his sample, some of his stuff to sample, and that won't be ready for a couple days. So I figured I'd take some of my old espresso beans and try to, make my way through some old stock and make room for some new delicious coffee to try. And well, with that said, it's the day before Veterans Day, and it gets me to an important point. And I wanted to do this a day early. I mean, I still want to do like a Veterans Day podcast, but I feel like most people don't know what Veterans Day is. Like, when you're a little kid, right? What's Labor Day? What's Memorial Day? Like, what's this? What's that? Like, well, what does Labor Day mean when it, like, why can't you wear white clothes after Labor Day? Or, you know what I mean? Or it's one of those, like, you're a little kid, you don't know, right? And nobody really truly explains it, at least repetition is important, right? You send your kids to school. What is it, on average? 10 to 15% of what you learn in a day is retained. So it's like, hey, kids, we're learning numbers. Like, well, then why the hell do we spend 12 years beating numbers into kids' heads so that they remember and retain all the information that we do to maneuver and manipulate numbers and the numbers themselves and how to add them, multiply them, divide them? Like, we spend 12 years doing that. Because you got to think, like, day one, like, this is the number one. Like, okay. So if you go 1 through 10, the kids are going to remember, like, 1 to 2 numbers. Right? Like, okay, well, guess what? We're going to do it again. Well, you spend one day going over Memorial Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, and it's just one of those things. Like, people don't know what it is. And with the divisiveness in our country now, like, and I think divisiveness is handy. I mean, it's more about the debate, right? So, like, if I debate you on why you voted for whatever president you just voted for, if I debate you on, some topic on the internet, if I troll you, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, there's divisiveness, but at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we should have a common American pride. And the downside is that this divisiveness is not leading. When I was on the Common Council, we used to there was nights that, like, we'd get along, and then all of a sudden there's nights that we'd, like, scream and yell at each other over budgets. And then at the end of the meeting, it's like, I would calm down, and then I'd be like, how am I going to go talk to these people again? Like, I just got in a screaming match with them. And then, like, we would talk the next day, and it was like, or we'd talk later on, and it was like nothing had happened, right? And it's like, well, and I think people forget that. They're like, oh, I can't get in an argument with this person because they're on the internet. And then you get on the internet, and they're like, they start fighting, and it's like, oh, it's this person just trolled me, and I hate them. They're now my mortal enemy. And it's like, well, it's because you didn't have an in-person dialogue with them. But, let's remember that moving forward. But that divisiveness has also gotten like, well, I'm going to take this a step further. This person's a veteran. This person's an American. This person doesn't like this. This person doesn't like that. Well, the American system is broken. And then you get all these bad actors coming in and manipulating the system to where, like, people don't want to be an American, which is depressing. Because you have people that are willing to die and fight for our country and our freedoms and all this other, all these great things that make America great. And you have people willing to die for that and serve their country, not in the hopes to die, but in the, in the thought that they're doing good in the world. And if for some reason something bad happens, you know what I mean? Like, they're expecting, like, if they have to, they will die for our country and our freedoms. And so, like, you see all the younger generation now, and they're just like, oh, America sucks. America's broken. America's founded by colonists and slavers and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no. Sure, it was founded by colonists, because we, colonialism and what, but it's like, well, who cares? Every place was colonized by somebody. Like, what came first, the chicken or egg? You want to go down like a philosophical rabbit hole over it? No. But then, like, you can't be like, oh, now we have to hate America, 250 years later because because we don't like how they started it. You know, it's like, well, then why is that an idea? Why didn't they do this 50 years after founding? Why didn't they do this 200 years after founding? Why didn't they do 100? 127 and a half years into it, they just said, nah, sorry, you had slaves once. We don't think you've redeemed yourself. You know, it's like so dumb. But anyways, getting back to it, this is America, and we need to be proud to be Americans, regardless of how much we fight on the internet. Regardless how many times Kevin trolls you or you troll Kevin, we're Americans, and we need to have that American pride. Because to fight for our freedoms, to have that national pride, right? Like, and that's a pride that's okay to have, right? Like, to be proud to be an American is a good thing. Like, it's okay to be proud to be an American. And I don't know, it's one of those things. We've lost it, and we need to get back to it. We need to go back to being a proud country, because Veterans Day is full of people who have served in our military, alive and deceased. And if you will, they were the volunteers. Right? Because these were the people that volunteered to do it so they could get rid of the draft. These are the people that did it so you didn't have to. But when push comes to shove, and I've talked about this on the show before, in order to fight for our freedoms, like, we send all the volunteers first, and let's say something catastrophic happens and all the volunteers get killed, or they're losing numbers, they will start pulling people. And to the point that, like, if a war was bad enough and they were coming in, and like, we haven't had a war on American soil, so I mean, if things were bad enough, and then people are going to say the war on terror or something, but no, that's a little bit different. But like an active, like, deployed troops, if things get bad enough and we lost all the volunteers and all the able-bodied, adults, and then all you have left is like the weak women, the stay-at-home moms, the children, all the people that had to stay home for whatever reasons. Rosie the Riveter was riveting planes, whatever. Like, guess what? You're going to either pick up arms, or whatever thing that is coming through and wiping us out, you're going to have to defend it. Or they're just going to decimate, because if they're just wiping us out so easily, then essentially why wouldn't they eradicate every living soul on American soil, right? And that is the inevitable conclusion of what would happen if we were to lose a war, right? Like, you would just, like, these are all the people, these are all the equipment. Okay, they get wiped out. Well, what's next? We get the runner-ups. Okay, these are people that didn't want to fight, but guess what? You're going to have to, or you're going to get eradicated, because you would just stand there and be like, I don't fight in war, blah, 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 and then they shoot you. That's what happens. That's what happens in war. All is fair in love and war. And but yeah, so if you don't want to be an American, like, you should be proud to be an American. I guess I went a little rabbit hole there about, like, Veterans Day is about the people that volunteered to potentially die for this country, to die for our freedoms. The people who have died for our freedoms. Veterans Day is to celebrate those people. The people that, like, said, hey, I'm going to serve my country. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to fight for American freedoms. I am proud to be an American. Those are the people that tomorrow is for. And to better celebrate Veterans Day, you should be proud to be an American. You, the individual, the person who may not have volunteered to fight for your country, to serve your country, the person who did not. That's who I'm talking to right now, because veterans know that they're veterans. Veterans might be humbled and don't want to be appreciated. Maybe they don't need to be appreciated. Whatever. Like, that's fine. But you should still appreciate them. That doesn't regard the fact, well, he doesn't want me to. Like, I don't care. You should want to. You should want to show appreciation for the veterans, for what they did for our country, the service that they've provided, the service that they have valiantly laid down their lives in a lot of instances to defend your right to live the way that you live today. And on that note, I'm going to end today's podcast just under 10 minutes. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And I hope you have a good and valiant Veterans Day. Hug a veteran. Lay down flowers at a grave site. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.